Hello, I'm Greg Funfeld, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this Bach at Noon for March 2021. In my mind, this is a bittersweet occasion. It's March 9th as you watch this for the first time. And last year, on March 10, 2020, we gave our last Bach at Noon in this incredible sanctuary in front of a live audience. The next day, everything began to get shut down because of the pandemic. And since then, as you know, we've been offering our Bach at Noon concerts virtually. So it's a bittersweet day, but it's a great day. We're having a wonderful program for you for this March 2021 Bach at Noon, and I welcome you to that. I want to say that we have a wonderful matching gift from a great friend of the choir, Marie Gardner Zoellner. Marie is a great friend of the choir who lives in South Carolina, though soon shall be moving to Arizona. We wish her well there. She is giving $1,000 to match all of your gifts in support of this concert. And Marie wrote a few words for me to share with you. She said, "When I lived in Bethlehem, I attended every concert I could at the Central Moravian Church. I was impressed that it was standing room only. We have world-class performers in the Bach Choir. One should not certainly miss seeing their performances. Listening to such music calms my spirit when the world seems to be in chaos. At times, the music brings me to tears. I once said to myself that each note is like a raindrop from heaven, nourishing my thirsty soul. When listening, I marvel at how one person can write music for so many different instruments and then voices, and then when it all comes together, it's magic." Thank you, Marie. And I want to thank another gentleman whose name is John. He wrote to me after the February Bach at Noon when we had another matching gift opportunity. And he said, "I've just finished listening to Bach at Noon." He wrote me a very lovely note and said, "I heard about this matching gift opportunity and I've made a donation online." I hope you'll do that. And on this first anniversary of the pandemic closing down our concerts live and us going to the virtual offerings, I hope you'll make a gift to the choir to support these efforts. We so appreciate the chance to come into your home and into your lives with this music. And so many of you have written and said what a great comfort it's been. So now we have a wonderful program of music. We start with some cello music with Loretta O'Sullivan, and then Deshawn Burton is here to sing beautiful arias and songs for you. First, we'll enjoy a conversation with Loretta. I'm so happy that Loretta O'Sullivan is a soloist for today's Bach at Noon. Loretta is the principal cellist of the Bach Festival Orchestra and a much-loved colleague, someone we admire enormously and enjoy a great deal. So Loretta, thrilled that you're here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's hard to believe, but tomorrow is March 10th.
Yeah.
And 1 year ago on March 10th, we did our last Bach at Noon in this church in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
It's been a year since the pandemic took all of that away from us. And I'm so grateful that you've been part of our virtual musical offerings since then. But tell us a little bit, what have you been doing maybe more recently in the pandemic, both musically and personally?
Thank you. Yeah, about that concert, the last March concert, I took a picture of the audience. I don't know why. It sort of inspired me to take a picture of the audience and just to see it, all those people in the full. I had no idea that was the last of the concerts. Most recently, my chamber music group has gotten together to do a few concerts virtually. And that was filmed in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and we did a full Baroque concert. And then last week, my colleague Andy Appel and I played 2 Vivaldi sonatas, and he played some Couperin pieces, and that's for a Midtown concert series. So that'll be filmed this week.
Midtown New York.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, I'm so glad to know you're keeping busy.
Yeah.
And certainly we're trying to keep you busy.
Yes.
In Bethlehem. So great.
Love it.
What about personally?
Well, I've been making great dinners, I have to say. My cooking is getting better, and that's our time. It's been having traveled, I haven't had a chance to really have daily life with my husband Evan, and so that's been great.
Good.
And not much else. I'm reading more. Trying to exercise more, doing a little, taking some online master classes and sort of kind of brushing up on some Baroque techniques and that kind of thing.
Great. Yeah. One of the things about the pandemic, you find out how compatible you are. I mean,
yeah.
And for some people, like for my wife and I, it's been a great blessing.
Yeah.
And for others, it's been maybe more of a challenge. But I'm glad for you and Evan. That's wonderful. Now, you're going to play 2 pieces for us today. The first by François Couperin, called The Dodo, or Love in the Cradle.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that piece. I'm really enjoying playing it with you.
I love it too. It's I think originally a harpsichord piece from one of the books of pieces that Couperin wrote. And it says that it could be for 2 like instruments. So I've played it, say, with 2 cellos or 2 gambas. There's no figure bass in the bottom, so it really lends itself to duos. And the piece is so gorgeous. The bass line is just playing this rocking motion over and over again.
Like the baby in the cradle rocking, yeah.
Right. And there's this very tender melody on top. And then it moves into a more melancholy section, and then so it keeps going back and forth. So I think even the melody has a sort of cradle or rocking motion. And the thing that's so wonderful about Couperin is that he has all these ornaments that are just very, in this piece, which is a very slow piece, they're very, they're very colorful, and you can do a lot with the expression on those ornaments.
Yeah. Well, and you certainly do.
Thank you.
And as I said to you when I was practicing this piece, I found it almost hypnotic. It really kind of lulls you into a very peaceful place.
Yeah.
So I think our listeners will enjoy that. And then we follow that with A Song Without Words by Mendelssohn. Now, I've known and loved Mendelssohn's Song Without Words for piano, but until you proposed this to me, I had not known that there was just one for cello and piano.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I was looking for a piece to play here, and I looked at my Mendelssohn volume, and there's 2 Mendelssohn cello sonatas. There's a set of variations, and in the back of the volume was this Song Without Words, and it's just so gorgeous. It's my first time, playing it. I'm sure it's been played a lot. There are many, many recordings of it. So I don't know how I missed out on it, but it's just gorgeous. And I think that Mendelssohn, he wrote it at the end of his life, about 2 years before he died, and it was published after he died.
I see.
And his younger brother was a cellist. And I was reading yesterday that he wrote a lot of chamber music, which featured the cello because of his brother, and it was, of course, a very musical family. So,
well, it is just a beautiful piece, and I was talking to our good friend and colleague cellist Noelle Grand.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm playing this fabulous piece with Loretta. She said, I love that piece. So she, who is half of our age perhaps,
right,
or maybe she knew it, and so you and I have come to it later, but it's just like a spring morning.
Yes.
I think it's so exuberant, and then there's a little storm cloud that maybe comes over,
right,
but then it goes back to that spirit of spring. And it really is a beautiful, beautiful piece. So thank you for bringing that to us.
You're welcome.
We'll hear them both now.
Great. Thanks.
Deshawn, it's always such a great thing to welcome you back to Bethlehem. I know you enjoy coming back here. It's kind of a second home for you, but we're just always thrilled when you come back and sing for us again and spend time with us.
It's like a family here, really. Thank you so much.
Well, and Deshawn has been here for several days. He's going to be part of our educational video, which is another event for another time. But since he was coming, I said, well, how about staying for the March Bach at noon? And as I mentioned before with Loretta, this Bach at noon is going out on March 9th. And last year on March 10th, we did our last Bach at noon in this space in front of a live audience. It's been a year since those live performances were taken away from us, and we've been doing everything online, and you've been kind enough to be here several times, so you've been very much a part of that. How has it been for you in the pandemic? I know you lost so many engagements. How have you kept your musical mind and your voice going?
I think one of the most important parts of this whole time has actually been just sort of reaching out to help people and to see what we can do to help each other. I think knowing that there is this appetite still for performances, however we can make them, and with the access that we have with computers and intrepid musicians really making really bold and innovative choices to make new experiences for people to breathe online. That's been really kind of the most important thing to kind of keep me going, remembering that there is a person on the other side of the glass who I can connect with, and I really want to always connect with people as much as possible. Another great fortune in this time is working with students who are still going through auditions and having to enter their first years of college and having to enter their first years of professional studies and even farther beyond, and still telling them that there is a lot that is still going on. A lot of really great companies, a lot of really great performers and organizations have done so much work to keep everyone safe above all, but to just kind of keep the whole sort of cultural spirit of it all rolling as much as possible. And we need to make experiences for them as well. So having the opportunity to talk with students about how they can do that has been really, has kept my soul going, yeah.
Good. Well, I know travel has been such a big part of your life over the last many years, and of course, not traveling has been a big adjustment for you. But thinking back, what's one of the special places that you've been to, or a couple of places where you've gone and to sing in one of your ensembles or with an orchestra? What are some memories that carry you through these dark days?
Still, to this day, really the most life-changing experience that I've ever had traveling was traveling to Cameroon in West Africa with my group Cantus that I was singing in at the time. I believe this was 2007. We went for a 13-day trip to help celebrate actually the 50th anniversary of the Presbyterian Church of Cameroon. So we were sort of the musical celebration wing, and everywhere we went for 13 days, we were just welcomed by such warmth, by such sort of larger than life spirit, something that I think we in classical music often don't have the sort of the opportunity to really sort of infuse our music with, no matter what we're doing, no matter what instruments we're playing on, no matter what the tuning is, we're really bringing joy to it first. And so I know that there are a lot of people in this country, in Western music in general, really trying to infuse that spirit. But I have never experienced it more than when I was in Cameroon, and it was a really powerful experience. Of course, I've also sung in many places that Bach Choir has sung in the past as well, in Germany, and I'm so heartbroken that we missed the opportunity to travel to Germany this time. But I know we will again, and I look forward to returning to all of the same wonderful halls in the States, in Europe, and around the world that I've been able to perform this kind of music in.
Yeah. Deshaun was supposed to go with us to Germany last summer, and then we were hoping to go again this summer, and of course that has all fallen through. But I loved hearing you talk about Cameroon, the look on your face and the animation in your voice. Yeah. It's as if you're right there in the moment.
I will never forget it. I really, really will never forget it. Yeah.
Now, we're in the middle of the season of Lent, and the Bach at Noon program for this March 2021 has a kind of a Lenten feel to it. I mean, we start off with a wonderful aria from Cantata 149, which actually doesn't really have anything to do with Lent, but it is from a cantata that Bach wrote for St. Michael and All Angels, that wonderful feast day, and about the great Archangel Michael. And Bach loved angels, just the Sanctus from the Mass in B minor, and then these cantatas that he wrote for St. Michael's, and this fabulous aria that you sing, where it talks about the great voice coming from the heavens in the book of Revelation, that Satan has been defeated and God has triumphed, and you bring such a fabulous quality to that piece. I know it's an aria you really like.
I love it, and speaking of which, we were speaking of Masaki Suzuki earlier, and that was the first time I performed this aria was with him, and I've loved having it be a part of my life really ever since. I'm so excited to bring it to Bethlehem. I'm not sure we've ever done it before here, actually, so it's a real joy to to share this particular piece with the audience. There's so much drama, and as a matter of fact, if you look at almost any sort of sculpture of Saint Michael that has been done in so many different places in the world, you will see the drama. Often Saint Michael is sort of holding a sword. Often there's kind of all of these really long motions and long movements, and often Satan is under his foot and represented as a snake. And I mean, this aria is the epitome of all of that drama wrapped into sort of one package.
Yep.
In this way.
Yeah, it's fiendishly difficult for the cello and the keyboard player, and it's no walk in the park for you either. But I think everyone will really love hearing you sing that. Mm-hmm. And then there are two excerpts from the St. John Passion and the St. Matthew Passion. The beautiful Arioso, Betrachte meine Seele, and then one of my favorite arias in all of Bach from the St. Matthew Passion, Mache dich mein Herz rein. I mean, it's just one of the most beautiful arias. I'm always transported to a heavenly place when I hear that music being played or sung. You've sung it many times, I'm sure, but how does it speak to you?
It will always speak to me for every day of my life, whether I'm singing it or not. It's just one of those pieces that you have this picture of the sweet eternal rest that you're going toward. You have the picture of, again, stepping up and helping others. You have the picture, again, of you wanting to make your heart and your intentions and your actions pure, so that you can really sort of bolster the people around you and really make society, stronger in this way. It's one of the most universal pieces of love, camaraderie, sacrifice. Really, everything that is the human experience is wrapped in this one song that's at the end of Matthew Passion. In the midst of so much tragedy and sadness, there is always that hope. And actually, that kind of reminds me. This is kind of the first time I've put this together. One of my favorite Mr. Rogers quotes that he always said was, "Look for the helpers. In times of distress, always look for the helpers." And this is exactly what Simeon does. And he says, "I want to help. I will step up to do this part." And this is exactly what we all can do, certainly in these days, with each other.
Great. Then Deshawn and I get to do something we really love. It's a piece from the 5 mystical songs of Vaughan Williams, setting the poetry of George Herbert. And a number of months ago, you may remember, we did Love Bade Me Welcome. And I talked about that poem before we performed it, and I'm going to do the same thing with this poem called Easter. It's one of George Herbert's really brilliant, precious, gorgeous poems, and I'm going to talk about that, but Deshawn and I have always loved this music and the poetry of George Herbert. We found a kindred spirit many years ago, and so to be able to do one of these pieces with you is a great joy.
Always, I feel you are my brother in these pieces, and so it's a really great joy to always present these pieces specifically. Yeah.
And then we end with an aria from Cantata 82, one of the great solo cantatas for bass voice, Schlummert ein, which is, again, a kind of a lullaby, very peaceful piece. But just tell us a little bit about that.
It's the same sort of spirit, as a matter of fact. This whole program being in this very considered place, in this very metered and measured place, at the end of every long day and at the end of our longest day, which is really our entire lives, we finally come to this place of rest, and we finally are able to instead of toiling in misery and in sadness on this earth, we are able to really rest in the hard work that we've done, again, to just build each other up as much as possible. It's one of my favorite pieces for this, and I love the orchestration in this space specifically, and the history of this piece in this exact space is always wonderful as well.
Yeah.
So it's really moving.
Bach had a way of talking about eternal life at the end of Cantata 140, he uses that ewig in dulce jubilo, you know, eternally in sweetest joy. And this sense of rest and being at peace, being freed. And I know that speaks to you as it does to me and to so many other people. But Bach is still helping us find peace and find comfort. And Deshaun, you're right there with him, so thank you.
Means the world to me. Thank you so much, Greg. Really.
Okay.
Kraft und Stärke sei gesungen, Gott, dem Lamme, das bezwungen und dem Satanas verjagt. Kraft und Stärke, Kraft und Stärke, sei gesungen Gott dem Lamme, das bezwungen und dem Satanas verjagt, der uns Tag und Nacht verklagt, der uns Tag und Nacht verklagt. Sieg ist auf die Frommen durch des Lammes Blut gekommen. Sieg ist auf die Frommen durch des Lammes Blut gekommen. Sieg, Sieg. Sieg ist auf die Frommen durch des Lammes Blut gekommen. Sieg ist auf die Frommen durch des Lammes Blut gekommen, durch des Lammes Blut gekommen. Sieg ist auf die Frommen durch des Lammes Blut gekommen. selbst begraben. Ich will Jesum selbst begraben.
Before Deshawn sings for you this second piece from Vaughan Williams' 5 mystical songs, I wanted to just say a few words about the poetry. Vaughan Williams gets George Herbert's poetry like very few composers. I think it's absolutely brilliant how he understands and interprets Herbert's profound messages. This is part of a double poem called Easter. The first part opens the 5 mystical songs with the words, "Rise, heart, thy Lord is risen." The second piece in the 5 mystical songs is the second half of this double poem, Easter. There are 3 verses. In the first, the poet is saying, "I got me flowers to strew thy way. I got me boughs off many a tree. But thou wast up by break of day, and brought'st thy sweets along with thee." He's referencing Palm Sunday, when Jesus entered into Jerusalem, the triumphal entry, and people spread palm branches in the way. He's also talking about a custom in the country parishes where he was a priest, where they would take branches from trees and beautiful flowers, and they would decorate the church for the feast days like Easter Sunday and Christmas. The church was bedecked with flowers, and it was just beautiful, and Herbert loved this custom. So he's talking about, I got me flowers, I got me boughs off many a tree. But then he's surprised. He finds that Christ had risen earlier than he was out getting organized to do these things. But thou wast up by break of day, and brought'st thy sweets along with thee. It's a reference to the fact that Mary Magdalene and Mary and other women were going to bring incense and oils to anoint the body of Christ. But he didn't need them. He had already risen from the dead, and he brought his own sweets along with him. The second verse is about the sun, and it says, "The sun arising in the east, though he give light and the east perfume, if they should offer to contest with thy arising, they presume." He's saying that the risen Christ puts even the sun in the shade. And it's George Herbert had a kind of sense of humor. He says, if they should offer to contest with thy arising, they presume. You can't win a contest with God. And the sun shining is never going to be as bright as the resurrected Christ. So these are wonderful images. And then the third verse is about Easter Day itself. "Can there be any day but this, though many suns to shine endeavor? We count 300, but we miss. There is but one, and that one ever." And what Herbert's saying here is this Easter Sunday is the day of days, the feast of feasts. And he says, we count 300. And that's a reference in rough terms to the 365 days of the year. We can count 300 suns rising. But there is only one, that's the risen Christ, and that one ever, forever. So this is Herbert's extraordinary poem about Easter, a rapturous poem about Easter, set to music by Ralph Vaughan Williams, and sung so well by Deshaun Burton.
I got me flowers to strew thy way. I got me boughs of many ich bleibe nicht mehr hier, hab ich doch kein Teil an dir, dass dir Seele könnte taugen.
Thanks for joining us. As I said with Deshaun, we're in the middle of the season of Lent, and we wish you peace in this holy time of the year. We hope this music is comforting to you, that it lifts your spirits, and that we all look forward to the day when we can fill this church again and share these concerts face to face. We'll keep doing it online, but we look forward to when we can do it again together. Take good care, be healthy, stay well.